Y'all come in here, let's talk, okay? Because we're on week number 2 of Period Gate, right? And the conversations continue to happen about this whole Jess Hilarious video and everyone being at arms and sort of picking sides in terms of who's right and who's wrong. And I'll be honest with you guys, I honestly feel like that is a huge part of what the problem is. I'm sorry for this chair creaking. But anyway, I feel like right now in today's world, everyone is concerned with their own individual trauma and no one respects the trauma of others, right? So if you talk to trans women, they're going to tell you all the reasons why they belong in certain spaces, why they should have certain rights, and it shouldn't matter, right? And if you talk to cis women, they're going to tell you all the reasons why they're uncomfortable with certain things and why those rights may infringe upon the way that they feel, and they feel like they're being trounced on because no one's hearing the fact that, hey, I'm uncomfortable, or hey, I'm not ready yet, okay? Give me some time to catch up to where you are. Which I don't believe to be an unreasonable position, right? Because I've said this in previous videos. I'm new to TikTok, but I'm not new to YouTube. I've said this in previous videos, that for me as a trans woman, there was an evolution of me being comfortable in my body, right? I remember going to, very early on in my transition, being afraid to go to the grocery store, right? And I would go to the grocery store, and I would park outside of the grocery store, and I would look, and if there were a group of people at the front of the door, I wouldn't go in because I was so intimidated and so afraid to walk past people because they might poke, they might prod, and what have you. And so I would wait for an opportunity when there were as few people in front of the store as possible, and then I would dart in, right? And dart in with my head bowed, and just everything about me said defeated, and that I didn't belong, and that I was ashamed of who I was. And it took me some time to build the muscles to say, wait a minute. If he's going to get milk, she's going to get bread and eggs. How come I can't go in here and get my milk and my bread and eggs? And when I began to understand that I had a right to do the same things that everybody else was doing, baby, then I started to strut through that store. But it took me some time to get there, okay? It was a process. It was not instantaneous. And so I feel like a lot of these trans women feel, today's trans women are in a microwave oven, right? So if you're of a particular age, transitioning used to be a process, right? In today's age, the transition is so rapid that they don't appreciate the acclimation that it takes to get to a certain point anymore, right? And so now we're forcing our way into traditionally cis spaces and saying, move over, bacon, now there's something meatier, you know? And women are pushing back, cis women are pushing back and rejecting it and saying, hey, not so fast. And I can understand that from their perspective, because to force your way into a space, unapologetically so, is a degree of violence, in my opinion, right? Now, I'm not telling you to be passive. I'm not telling you to have conversations. But what I'm saying is, you don't necessarily have to be antagonistic about your approach towards asking for access or wanting access to spaces that you weren't traditionally given access to. So here we are. Again, I think it was Leah Thomas, the one who was the swimmer, and she beat all of the other cis women in the swimming competition, and people were upset about that. Now listen, when it comes to trans in sports, I'm not sure exactly how we resolve that problem, because I do believe that trans women, trans kids should have the ability to play sports. And the world is going to have to catch up with the fact that there are trans people in this world, right? And trans people are going to have to understand that the world has to catch up, and we have to allow for progress to be made, and it's not going to happen overnight, right? Because for me, I've seen so much progress happen in my generation, so much progress that I never thought I would see as a trans woman. And because of that progress and that accelerated progress, I'm like, wow. You know, in the words of A Different World, it's a different world than where I came from, okay? It wasn't this 10, 15, 20 years ago. The world is much more enlightened. The world is much more accepting. And you have a lot more opportunities than you would have had a long time ago. And that doesn't mean that you should stay here in this place and say, hey, I'm complacent here. But you should also take a beat to appreciate the growth and the struggle that has gotten you here, and also be open to having conversations and not just sort of elbowing your way into spaces that people are telling you, hey, I'm uncomfortable with this right now. And those of you who are cis women who have been in these spaces that have been traditionally occupied by only cis women, you also have to start to open your mind and understand that the world is changing and evolving, and it is becoming a more inclusive world. And some of those people may look a little different from what you've been used to. Okay? But there should be a mutual respect for each other's trauma. Cis women are going through a lot. Trans women are going through a lot. And I'm not here to tell you that my a lot is more than your a lot. I'm just saying the struggle on both sides is a real struggle, and it needs to be mutually respected. There's no point in us fighting each other. Now I don't have a uterus, right? I can't reproduce. But when Roe v. Wade was overturned, I was upset. I'm still upset. I will continue to be upset. And every time there's an opportunity to vote for the interest of bodily autonomy for cis women or trans women, I'm showing up and I'm showing out. There's no need for me. You think me as a trans woman, right? If I'm on the street, if I'm driving my car, and on the side of the road, I see a woman whose car is broken down, and I pull over, you think I'm going to get out and say, excuse me, are you cis or are you trans? Oh, you're cis? Oh, I'm sorry, cis. I can't help you. You know, can't do it. I'm not going to do that, right? I'm going to help a sister. I don't care whether she's cis. I don't care whether she's trans. Okay? It's immaterial to me. I do not care. So this notion that trans women somehow think they're better or superior or more than cis women is happening with a very, very small minority of trans women. And this is what I want cis women to understand. Most logical, reasonable, rational, well-adjusted trans women understand, and we are not trying to trounce on your rights. We have no reason to. There's not a single day in my life where I wake up thinking, in order for me to feel important, I have to make someone else feel lesser than me. That thought never crosses my mind, excuse me. And so I don't know where it comes from. But I'm telling you, when you hear these women who talk these sort of, just like you have TERFs, right, who are trans, exclusionary, radical feminists, you also have the same on the trans side, who we have some very radical trans women who are speaking up and speaking out, but that is not indicative of the mentality and the disposition of the trans community as a whole. And the problem that we have is when you have people like Jess Hilarious who make the videos that she makes and says the things that she says, you wind up having me pay for something that is not something that I necessarily believe or subscribe to. I don't believe that, women aren't the gatekeepers of periods. I'm not even thinking about someone's period. I'm not. It's just such a crazy conversation to even have to have, because I'm not thinking about who you're sleeping with. I'm not thinking about your bodily functions. I'm focused on being the best me. That's it. That's it. I don't have a reason to want to make you feel like you're lesser than me, because at the end of the day, while you are not lesser than me, I need you also to understand that baby, I'm not lesser than you, okay? I'm not lesser than you. I'm not talking about, oh, well, you can create life. We thank you for creating life. We appreciate you for creating life. But as a human being, I'm no less than anyone on this earth, man, woman, or child. My life matters just as much as everyone else's does. And so when I say that I'm no less than you, that's simply to say that my life is just as valuable as your life is. So y'all can keep fighting if y'all want to, but I'm telling you, at the end of the day, this really comes down to one thing. We all have to learn to respect each other's trauma, and we all have to learn that the world is changing. Listen, evolution is happening, and you have two choices. You either evolve or you die, right? Change is coming. It can't be prevented. It can't be prevented. When you have all of these people talking about MAGA and making America great again, what happened has happened, and the world is moving forward. Be it a better world or a worse world, it's moving forward. And we all get an opportunity and have a say in what that new world looks like. And I say this to you. Trans women don't have the power or authority to do anything to cis women, right? We can't tell you anything, okay? We're not that powerful. So this notion that we're somehow trying to replace you, stop that, because we're not, and we can't. And more importantly, we don't want to, okay? And don't let radical trans women become the voice of the trans community as a whole, because by and large, we do not want to erase women, and we do not care about periods. We don't care about, we're just out here trying to be happy. Just let us be happy, okay? Just let us be happy. Sis, no one has any reason to infringe on your happiness, so please don't try to infringe on mine. I'll see you guys again in the next video. Bye.